Hey guys, it's Joachim Pastor. Welcome to my new studio. It's not 100% finished, but we've been working on it very hard for 2 months. So it needs a bit of finishing touches, but everything is almost done and I can finally work. So today we're going to do a breakdown of my track called Right Now. It's going to be released on Armada Music. But first, let me show you what's the studio going to be. So here we're going to put a little living room with a home cinema, with a big screen. It's going to be amazing. Right there, a pool table. Over there used to be a kitchen, so I think we're going to keep a kitchen area so that when people come, they can have their drinks. Maybe we should do a bar. And maybe the office and maybe sim racing something. I don't know. We'll see. Here, I didn't bring all my gear, but you can see my magnificent Studer 903 console. It's an amazing. It's a Swiss console. Amazing. I love it. Can you tell? And here I have some good stuff. I have a shadow wheel mastering compressor, a pair of distressors, and a lot of cool stuff. I mean. I love my studio. So let's go, let's do the breakdown of my new track called Right Now, and let's do it right now. Let's go. Hey guys, so let's dig into the track. So as I told you earlier, the track is called Right Now. It's my track that's going to be coming, or maybe that's already came actually, on Armada Music. So let's make it simple. When I start a track, I always start with the melody. I don't really remember if this one I started with the vocal or not, but yeah, I usually I like to start with the melody, then I work on the bass and the beat. But basically, I try to make it all work together. And I think today we're gonna focus more on the mix and the arranging. So yeah, let's just dig into that directly. I'm gonna let's just listen to a loop of the track so we can see what we're talking about. So it goes something like this. Okay, so as I told you earlier, we are redoing I changed the studio, so it's almost finished, but I don't have all my gear. Actually, I'm missing my keyboard right there, so it's going to be a bit harder. I'm going to do everything with the mouse, but it's okay. Hopefully, thankfully, I guess this track was made almost in the box, so almost everything in the computer. Actually, I think everything in the computer. So it's going to be easy for me to show you everything in the computer. So some of the tracks are frozen, but we're going to go into the details as much as we can. So this is the group for all the guitars and stuff. So on this one, I like to record my own guitars, but on this one, I use the Omnisphere from Spectrasonics. Super good. I love it. It's really one of my favorite synths. It's very rich. And yeah, I use the guitar. It's in the guitars, and you have so many guitar samples. So basically, I use 3 different guitars. One is panned on the right, the other one is panned on the left. And this one is centered, and I'm not really sure what it is, but it's frozen, so I can't really tell you what it is. Okay, so let's listen to what the guitar does, and then I'll show you how I treated it. So let's go for the right one, then the left one, and the one that centers is actually just FX. Okay, just to make it a bit more realistic. Okay, so let's just check my first. Let's do it like that. My first the first guitar. So I have the Omnisphere, then I use a virtual mix rack. So actually I used a preset on this one, which is very rare. I almost never use presets on the virtual mix rack from Slate Digital. Super collection of plugins, really, really cool. Steven, I love your stuff. So yeah, basically just a little EQ. I'm cutting the low frequencies just a bit. And yeah, just adding a lot of shim, a lot of air on the, on the high frequencies, and just compressing a little bit. I had some reverbs and stuff, but apparently I'm not using them on this track. And here I'm cutting the lows. I'm sure I'm cutting more on the group, so we'll get to that. And basically all of these, they were resonance, so resonant frequencies. So I just cut them. So this is more like a technical. When I use EQs, I always use like one EQ to do a technical work. So normally I will use it mostly to do cuts on the high and the low, and cutting a resonant frequency, something like that. And when I use when I want to add something, I usually use an emulation like the SSL or the Neve stuff. I use a lot of the Elysia stuff. I have a lot of the I have some of them their hardware. So yeah, I usually use the EQ8 when I want to cut stuff. So this is a pretty good example. Okay, so that's basically basically the guitar. It's very simple. But then if we go on the group, we can see that I cut everything under 100 hertz. Basically, I want everything to be well separated. So, for example, if you have a kick that's very sub, the bass cannot be very sub, and vice versa. If you have a bass that's really sub, then the kick has to be a bit higher. You can't really mix those frequencies. Everything has to have its own space. So it's normal that I would cut that. And here, this compressor, I guess, is just a side chain. So you can see that it's side chaining. So basically, it's just cutting the volume every time the kick is dropping in. It's the same thing when you put the frequencies together. Here is the same, but it's used with the timing of the kick, basically. So, okay, then we go to the group of melody. I'm trying to go. We only have 30 minutes, so with the melody group, and actually the vocal is in it. So let's just check it out. We make this feeling right now is like the chances. Let's go to a place where there's a bit more stuff going on. This feeling together. We make this feeling right now. Okay. Okay, so let's go through them to them one by one, and then we'll go to the bass and the beat. So here I'm using Anna 2. So for this synthesizer, I think it's just it's just a one note. Let's listen to it. It's just a one note. So basically I'm using Anna 2. It's a synthesizer from Sonic Academy. Really, really cool stuff. I love it. One of my favorite too. I'm using a Verb Suite from the it's from Liquid Sonics, but actually it's included in the package with the slate stuff. So basically this gives me a long tail, and that's it basically for that note. And I have a really, really high side chain to give it the pumping energy. And this is just the same as earlier. I'm just cutting some of the cutting a resonant frequency, and basically that's it. We're not going to go through the mid and the side stuff. So without the reverb, it does something like that. Okay, and if I put the reverb back, it's going to be way longer. It just gives it some space. Basically, it makes it more organic. Let's go to these. It's just a very, very, very simple loop of. So you see the midis are like that. It sounds kind of weird like that. Okay, so. Oh, I don't have my keyboards. How do I get out of that? I can do it like that. Up. So basically, this is Omnisphere 2. It's just gonna be, it's an organ. So here, I have. It's kind of complicated without my keyboard. Here I have automation on the high cut. So just to open that during the whole track. Here, as usual, cutting the resonant frequencies. And super, super high side chain. I'm going really quickly between everything just to show you what's on each track, and then we'll talk about the philosophy of how I put them together. Next one is the strings. Super duper simple. I'm using a really old preset. It's a Ableton Live bundle. It's called Project Sam. really cool stuff. I love it. I use it all the time. And that's it. Let's not even listen to it. It's just cutting some frequencies. Then we go to the vocal. My dear Florence Bird singing that, a British singer, super, super great person. So together we make this feeling right now. So Florence, I pitched her voice. Normally it's a bit lower. Let's listen to it to see. This feeling right now. Yeah, that was from. She came to the house a few years ago. We recorded a ton of top lines. So I just pitched the voice and gave it a ton of reverb. So I think the reverb is in the returns. Actually, there's a lot of returns. Let's listen to it. That's the reverb. Very, very long reverb. And normally I'm using a LA2A compressor on the vocals, but I don't have it now because it's not the right computer. So it's from a Universal Audio. It's a LA2A. The one I use is one from Waves, but that's why I always use on the vocals. Then I have the virtual mix rack. As usual, cutting the bass. I'm adding a bit of air around this band is at 5K. I can't really read from here. And I have 1176, so that FG 116. It's 1176 compressor, famous compressor. Really good to catch the peaks from the vocal. It gives a bit of punch, but I use it just to catch the peaks. So normally I will have, it's a classic pair. I'll have the LA2A with its optical compressor, really to give it the smoothness, and you can yell into it and it's going to be really smooth and add a lot of medium. You can use it like an EQ. And before that, I will use the 1176 to catch any peak. All right, so I have this and the reverb. This reverb actually right there, you can see I use it just as an effect. So it's not always on. Here is the same thing, except that I pitched the voice one octave down, I think. You can hear it. Right now is like a okay, and you can barely hear it, but it still gives something to the mix. All right, and these are just little samples of the same vocal of her voice. I put them in the drum rack. Then I change the parameters and stuff, and then I get some notes like that. Okay, and then I made with the MIDI, all in MIDI, something like that. So I have a delay and a reverb. Very simple. All right, let's go. So basically, this is the vocal and all the melodies and stuff. I always start with that, and then I do. Usually, I go to the beat and then I do the bass. So let's just listen to the bass quickly. The bass is, I wouldn't say complicated, but it's. These are the bass notes. I'm using the Anna 2 plugin. Okay, let's look at what I've got on the bass. So I've got this this black thing right there. This black thing right there is emulation of a console. So yeah, I'm emulating a Trident type console. Very, very low drive. I mean, you can barely hear it, but still it will catch some of the super, super high frequency basically. Then I'm using this. It's the New York, it's like a tube amplifier, I guess. I use it, it gives a tiny amount of compression. I used to have a tube console, and I really liked it. You could really push you can really push the sound. Basically what it does when we say that tubes act like a compressor is just that it's gonna catch those those peaks, you know what I mean? And so then it kind of does the same as a compressor. You can't control the ratio and everything, but it does do that, but you can't push it too much. But that's why people like tape recording and tube stuff. But actually, I have right there. I have an EQ Hammer 2 from A Designs, and it's a tube EQ for mastering, and it's incredibly transparent. It sounds so good, but it's really transparent. And I do think tubes are meant, actually. I don't remember who told me that, but it's a guy that used to make consoles, and I don't know which one, but because I know a lot of people. But one of them told me that tubes actually were made to be really transparent. They tried to make it transparent, but yeah, I guess maybe people push them too much. And then I have the like a Neve style EQ. So I'm pushing a lot, around 50 hertz. And I'm still cutting a bit at 34 hertz to give it that kind of curve, you know. So basically that's what's on my bass. I have a really big sidechain, and I'm also cutting a bit right there. And these are frozen tracks. They're from Diva, you know, UHE Diva. Probably my favorite analog synth. And this, let's listen to it. So this is just a synthesizer. I cut the bass almost completely on it. You see, no bass, nothing under 100 hertz. And I'm just using it as sends only. So it doesn't go in the masters. It doesn't go in the group. It doesn't go in the group before the masters. And it's only going into sends, and actually it goes into this send. It's called bass. Yeah. And so I'm cutting, I don't know why, but I'm cutting again this. I have the virtual mix track. So a bit of tape saturation, a bit of tube saturation, compressor to do the sidechain, the reverb, and I have this guy from Sound Toys, the micro shift, gonna give me a bit of not a space, but a bit of stereo. And basically, I just use that to give a bit of grunt to the bass. You can barely hear it, but it really makes a difference. Let's give it a shot, actually. Oh, it's gonna be hard to hear it because it's send on. Okay, well, basically it's send only, and I don't have my keyboard, so I can't press command and do it, so we can't listen to it. Okay, let's move to the beat. All right, so that's the kick is a really, really old kick I've been using. Actually, a friend made me a bank of kicks a really long time ago. Here, cutting the resonant frequencies. I always try to keep things as simple as possible. If you don't need to put compression and everything. You basically when you put a plugin, it's because you need it. You can't just put compression just because you're used to putting compression. I mean, I love I have a ton of compressors. I love compression. I love EQs and stuff. But when you don't need it, you just don't put it. So if you have a need for it, then that's fine. So that the kick, very simple. Just a little EQ. Then we have the claps. So basically what I do is I have a clap on each side. One is left, this one is left, and the other one is right. On both claps, I will cut the bass, cut the low frequencies. And for example, on this one, I will have I have two tube saturators in chain, so they must be put really hard. I do that to get that kind of saturation on the top, on the high end of the clap, and it's going to make it come out of the mix better. Here I have the distressor. I use it to give it more punch, and basically the R is just to get a bit more of the high end. So let's listen to it with and without. Well, it's hard to hear, but a lot of the volume is done with the tube. And let's do the same here. So basically, the blue one has a lot of mediums, a lot of body to the sound, and the white one is gonna add a lot of the higher frequency. That's what I usually hear. That's how I do it. Maybe Steven is not gonna be happy that I say that. Maybe it's the opposite or something. Okay, so let's go to the toms. So very simple. Cutting the very low end as usual. Just a bit of saturation so that we can hear the tom. Basically, the tiny bit of saturation is going to help you make the sound come out of really small speakers. If you have a bass, if it's only sub frequencies, when you play on the MacBook, nobody will hear it. But if you have a bit of sub frequencies and a bit of saturation, then on the MacBook you can hear that little saturation part. So then you can hear the notes better. That's why people use saturation. You need to use it a tiny amount. It's more as a technical tool, so that when people today listen to their music on their phone or the MacBook, you can still hear the sound. If it's only subs and really low frequency, nobody will hear it. So, oh, this one's empty. I don't know why. And here, yeah, just a reverb. But these are just. Oh yeah, this is just. This is empty. Well, I don't know. I have just finished. We've been working on the studio for 2 months. It's the first time I opened Ableton and the project, so forgive me if I don't remember it so well. This is just shakers, basically. Very simple. I have an Echo Boy to give it a bit of it's like a Haas effect. It's just to give it a bit more stereo. Then the ladder filter is from a Kiloheart that you get in the Slate bundle. I love that. I really love it. The ladder filter, I love the sound. It's a kind of like those Moog filters. EQ8 as usual, cutting the lows because I don't need the lows in the shakers, and then cutting the frequencies. And I have the Haas right there. Haas, I don't know how to say it, sorry. But that's to give a bit more width also. So let's just check it out. You can hear those little resonance, and here it's clean. So it's a really small detail, but when you do it on every elements of the track, it's really gonna make it clear. Okay, now let's move on to this one. Just a normal hat, like an 808. Same, cutting the resonance. Let's listen to one of those resonance, because I've been talking a lot about them, but I don't know if you guys can hear it. Let's listen to them. That's one of them. And that's the other one. Very high-pitched. Very high-pitched sound. So if I don't cut it, so it's not that big, but to me it's a sound I don't need, and it's a part of the sound I don't want. That's probably, yeah, the open hat. Same thing, cutting the lows, compressing, that's it. I mean, nothing crazy. I'm probably compressing, it's more like a technical compression to gain some volume. So all of this is the mix. As you can see, it's very simple. Sometimes I do way more complicated stuff, but here I wanted something very airy, and that's it. And so I try to keep it as simple as possible. Then we have all the returns. I have one special for the bass. Sorry, this one is for the lead.
I'm not even sure I'm using it. This is a tremolator. Here it's off, but I like to have a bit of reverb, and the tremolator, it's gonna give some movement to the leads and stuff. That's probably for the vocal reverb. Usually I like to have on my normal set, because that's not my normal set, I have about 10 return tracks, and I have 3 reverb. I have a really short reverb to put the elements right there in your face. Then I use a medium, like a room reverb, but a medium, like maybe between 0.8 and 1.5 seconds usually. And that's gonna help me place the element a bit further, but still close to me, okay? And then I have a space, so really long reverb, really wide, big reverb, and that's gonna help me put elements really far away. So a quick trick: if you want the elements to sound like they're close to you, you put a really short reverb, and you keep some high frequencies. If you want to make it like it's really far away, you cut the high frequencies. It's like in reality, basically, you're emulating the reality. So you cut the high frequencies and you put a really long reverb, and that's gonna make it like it's far away. And then if you pan it left or right, you can really develop a sound field. Okay. And what do I have on the master? So I don't do the mastering, but I always, I used to do the masterings, but on these tracks, someone else does it. But I like to have a pre-master. So normally on the mastering, I will have, on this one, I had a tiny EQ to cut some resonance and stuff like that. Then I have the FG Gray, which is I have one right there. It's SSL G bus, SSL bus compressor. It's one from the 4000 console. Really cool. It's a VCA compressor. I use it just to catch some peaks. I use it only at like 2 dB of gain reduction. Then I have Elysia Muse EQ. Unbelievable EQ, super powerful for the bass. It's really great. And it's really good at giving air. The Elysia Alpha compressor, amazing machine. It's a beast. I don't know. I use it all the time, even in my live. I'm not gonna try to show you how it works. It's a compressor. It works like any other compressor, but this is from AOM. It's an invisible limiter. Really, really cool limiter. I love it. I use it all the time. It's the invisible limiter. It's not my secret weapon, but to me, it's the best limiter I have ever heard. So that's it. That's how, basically, that's the mix. I did an actual breakdown of the mix, full breakdown. Up. So let's check it one more time. So it gives me an idea of how to develop that. So basically here you can see that the bass and the kicks, so it's what I was explaining at the beginning, they're not in conflict too much. I'm not sure I did it, but usually if I push the bass, let's say that up, you can see that the highest point where there's the most energy in the kick is around 50 hertz. So one of the technique I usually do, I'm not sure I did it here, but yes, I did. You see, I will go to the bass, to the group, and I will cut a bit of that 50 hertz so that the bass and the kick are not in conflict. So here the bass is not too sub, but there is quite a bit of sub actually on it. The kick is really hard at 50 hertz, but there's nothing under 40, not much under 45, so it's not too sub. But I still do. You've seen the kick was hitting at 55, so I come and I take my bass group and I put it. I make a bell. I remove 4.5 dB at 50 hertz. So it's just so that the kick and the bass will breathe together better. I can't really show you how, because I don't have my keyboard, so I can press on command and show you that. I didn't show any of the effects, so usually I will have stuff like that. You see, very simple. Or I put them in reverse. And actually, I have a lot of special stuff which I've been using from a German company called Ghost Hack, and but I don't have the samples on that computer because, as I told you, I'm moving. We just moved the studio, and I don't have the studio computer. It's still at the old place. But yes, I like those Ghost Hack stuff. They do a lot of bundles, and I think it always sounds great. So I use a lot of these. So yeah, that's it. I mean, I guess that track is pretty simple, actually. There is not that many tricks. I didn't do anything too crazy. I showed you the mix. Basically, I always try to... let's be general here. Mixing is a way for stuff to click, to get together. And what you want, it's like in life, I guess. You don't want any conflicts. I think the bass stuff is the best example. If you have a bass that's super sub, you're gonna have a kick with almost no sub. You can't add the subs together. It's this, and it goes the same way with everything. If you have a vocal that's extremely high energy at 1.6K, you can't have a synthesizer that's going to have a ton of energy at 1.6K. Everything needs its room. And when you make music, it's you like every element of what you're doing. You love your vocal, you love your keyboard, you love the lead, and you want... It's almost like you want every element to be right there up front because you like them all. But you really have to make a philosophical choice. What's the main element? Is it the voice? Is it the guitar? And you really have to make, I guess, not sacrifice, but you really have to make a choice and find a spot for everyone. And sometime when you want to find a spot for this one, you're gonna have to lower or cut a bit of this other one. You can't have them fully. It's not a cappella, you know. So yeah, that's it took me many years to understand that and to know how to find the space. So here I talked a lot about finding space with EQs and frequencies and stuff, but you can also do it with panning. If you have two elements really strong in the same band, you can put one more on the left, one more on the right, and that will work. But if they are on the same frequency on the same stereo spectrum on the same stereo, that's not going to work so much. The sidechain is also a way to avoid that. So you have basically three ways to avoid it: EQ, stereo, pan, and the sidechain. Otherwise, this mix is really straightforward. I mean, there is not much. Basically, I use all the returns are quite simple. The reverbs and stuff are really straightforward. I do tend to use a lot of sidechain on the reverbs. I didn't do it on this one. I do it more on the techno tracks when I want to give a lot of space. This one is a bit more of a drier track. But yeah, that's it. I guess that was the breakdown of the track. So I hope it wasn't too tedious. And I'll see you next time. Let's wrap it up.